Hello, everyone. I want to thank you for joining me today for our Connect University on Duplication Management. HandsOn Connect Cloud Solutions is excited to be able to provide any and all of the digital solutions you need, whether that is our flagship volunteer management product, HandsOn Connect, additional insights and training with these HandsOn Connect University sessions, learning about partners through our Connect Exchange series, Salesforce implementation and configuration, custom-built applications, or our stellar support, including virtual administration, we've got you covered. As we like to remind our guests in today's training, I am recording today's session for future viewing. I'm Libby, and I am so glad to be here with you today. Our presentation is only 20 minutes, and like so many other presentations that I give, there is just so much I want to try to get through. So I already know I'm going to probably go fast, but hopefully not too fast, and that this training will be helpful in your data management endeavors. But please be sure that you reach out to any members of our team if you have additional info, or if you want to have any additional information on this or any other topic. So it seems like ages ago that I did a series on data management and bad data. One topic that I guess get asked about fairly often from that series is around duplication management. Duplicate records are just one type of bad data that can mess up your system and make reporting more difficult for you and your team. Duplicate data is probably the type of data that comes to mind first when you imagine bad data. It's important for us to define what duplicate data is, though, first. In general, when there's duplicate data, you have two identical or matching records or more. I like to think about duplicate data in a slightly broader sense as two or more records that represent the same thing, whether that's the same person, same organization, the same donation, or even the same volunteer experience. Sometimes these records have all of the same information, where other times only some of it matches. It's important to get to know your data and understand how you want to manage duplication and to what degree before you start making procedural changes. Now that we're all on the same page as to what duplicate data is, let's imagine a system that already has data. You start running reports or looking through records and you see that you have duplicates. How did the bad data get into your system? It's really important for us to know how all of the data, how all of the ways that data can get into your system in order to know what types of actions you need to take to implement both prevention and cleanup strategies in order to maintain that clean data set. Looking at any system, there are typically three ways that data gets in: automatic creation, individual manual creation, and the importing of records. Automatic creation might include HandsOn Connect, a web-to-lead form, or an integrated donation system such as Click and Pledge. These integrations push data into your system without additional steps on your part. It's good to know if these systems have settings that offer additional flexibility and control over the data that's going in. For example, Click and Pledge allows you to say if you want contacts to be fully automated based on various matching criteria, or if you want a manual creation where temporary data is stored first until you review and actually push a button to convert it. Manual creation is where an individual types in records into the system based on some type of external input to that individual. Perhaps a donation has been received and all of the relevant information gets typed into the various related records, the contact or the account, as well as the gift. Data imports happen when someone wishes to add in multiple records at once. This could happen at a handful at a time or to hundreds of thousands of records at once. After evaluating the various systems that you use, the next key to duplication management is to understand why there may be duplications in your system. So I'm going to give you some examples. Some of these might be present at your organization, some might, and there are other reasons as well, but these are some of the typical reasons. So non-unique identifiers. So the records that you have in your system have no unique key to be able to prevent duplication, such as a username or an import ID along those lines. You may have no processes in place to actually manage the data that's going in. You have no control over the integrated applications. And you don't have any plan on what to do if you have the bad data in there in the first place. Also, your users may have never received any training on how to prevent duplications. Or these users may not even have permission to be able to see all of the data, so they don't even know that what the data that they're putting in is a duplicate. And then in the case of data imports, you may not have evaluated the data and ensured that what you're wanting to put into the system isn't already there, or that the data in your files is actually even unique even within that import before you put it into your system. So now what? You know how data gets in now. We've taken some time to evaluate your organization. We know some of the reasons why there might be duplicates. So I'm going to spend some time talking about prevention and different methods to go about actions that you can take to have cleaner data in regards to duplication specifically. I'm going to break it into 3 main focuses with an emphasis on looking at the standard Salesforce solution, external applications that can be added into Salesforce, and then I want to give you some suggestions on data imports and preventing duplication there. I can't talk about prevention without going into evaluating your own organizational processes and looking at who touches your data and some things that you should do when it comes to training these users or reviewing automations. Okay, let's jump in here. So for the standard Salesforce solution, well, maintaining clean data is one of the most important things you can do to get the most out of any system. In Salesforce, duplicate management can be used to control whether and when users can create duplicate records. You can customize the logic used to identify the duplicates and what the user sees when duplication occurs. You can also create reports on duplicates. This solution is free and is already a part of your Salesforce system. So with this solution, it is handled in 2 ways. It's managed by 2 different types of rules, the duplicate rules and matching rules, both found under setup in your system. Duplicate rules control whether and when you can save duplicate records, and the matching rules are used to identify those duplicate records. So a couple things I want to point out when creating these rules in your system are about the sharing and whether you want to always block the creation of duplicates. Many organizations that we work with have an open sharing model where everyone can see all contacts. That is not always the case. So when contacts are created, in the event that there are duplicates, if sharing is enforced, that user may not be able to see those duplicates in order to prevent adding a new one. Just something to consider when you're looking at creating these rules or enacting ones that are already listed in your system. The other thing to keep in mind is if you block the creation of duplicates, there may be unknown consequences when it comes to integrations. So if someone is filling out a form, but the record is just never actually created because there's already one in your system, it will be blocked and no alert will show up because it's coming in from somewhere else. When you choose allow internally, the user who's making that entry is prompted with options of the other contacts if they are able to see them by the sharing rules. And then they have the option to continue to edit one of those or to go ahead and create one of the ones that they are create the one that they are working on if they deem that it is truly unique. So there are several, so for matching rules as well as the duplication rules, there are already rules that are in your system. You can create more if you would like. These matching rules define what is considered a match in your system. When entering data and a match is identified, these rules from the matching rules are also outlined in red so you can easily see how much from your new record matches something that's already existing in your system. I want to make sure to put it out there that Salesforce has some really great documentation on matching rules and duplicate rules that I'd recommend you read or watch before implementing these. This documentation is easily accessed through setup when you're logged in as an administrator. So we're going to move on to the external applications. There are so many applications that you can add into your system or use externally and link to your system to prevent duplication or clean it up. Whenever you start evaluating this, always make sure to check for nonprofit discounts. Many of them do offer that. But also, when you're evaluating an external application, it's good to know what it is you are interested in accomplishing before you make that decision. Each does a lot of the similar things, but some have some unique features that they offer, such as fuzzy matching or matching on social media accounts. They may have different schedules for doing cleanup. Is your focus in your organization going to be focused on cleanup and merging, or will it be more focused on preventing those duplicates before the data goes in? Another thing to consider is, do you want this app to do more than just look for duplicates? If it's dupe catcher or dupe check, then that's really what it's going to be focused on, is just that duplication. So if you want it to be looking at inconsistent data such as addresses, you want to evaluate it as a whole rather than just the one piece that we're talking about today, which is the duplicates. Keep in mind, many applications are not free, and while some may appear to be better than others, it completely depends on your point of view and what you need to accomplish for your organization. The ones that I have on the screen here, these are actually applications or companies with tools that I've personally used, and I like the way that they function. But it really comes down to your budget, your preference, and what you need to accomplish. There are even more options out there, so I also suggest taking a look at the App Exchange in Salesforce to see what other options you have as well. Okay. Learning what you want to do and finding a tool that fits within your budget and implementation timeframe is really an important step. Data management is a serious process, and it takes a lot of effort and commitment from you and your organization to be successful. Okay, mass imports. I spent a lot of time doing these, and I can speak from experience that the absolute most important step when it comes to data imports is preparation. So for whichever tool you use to prepare your data, whether that's Microsoft Excel or a free open source option, be sure to take the time to understand how to manipulate your data to see where there are inconsistencies or duplication before it makes it into your system. The first thing I'd like to recommend is sorting your data in multiple ways. See if duplicates stand out easily. If you can, do some simple formulas where you just evaluate fields against the one above. Like, for example, if C12 equals C11, return duplicate. You could even just take a column of your data, put it in another sheet, and do a remove duplicates to see how many unique records you actually have. You can do a lot of that simple manipulation just quickly, just an instant to get those results. If possible, compare your new data, to an export of your existing data. Perform VLOOKUPs, or even combine all of the data into one, making sure that you can still identify which is new and which is old, and do some evaluation based on that with all of it in one place. Make sure that you have thoroughly reviewed your data before you make the next step to adding it into your system. So now we're going to assume that you have a good set of data to import. The next key is knowing which tool you're going to use to get your data into your system. There are three main native Salesforce ways to get the data in: the Data Import Wizard, Object-Specific Import Wizards, and the Apex Data Loader. Since our focus is on matching and trying to minimize duplication, I'm going to focus specifically on the deduplication functionality of each, and not really go into more of the details and the differences, other than that the Apex data loader has many more options as to what objects can be records can be added to, as well as a much higher record limit on those imports. For deduplication, the internal wizards such as the data import wizard and the object specific wizards, those allow for matching on name, email, as well as the Salesforce ID, whereas the Apex data loader only allows matching on the Salesforce ID or an external ID field. So I want to say, if you ever have a unique external ID set up in your system, whenever possible, use these fields to prevent duplication. This will allow you to be able to use each of the import tools that are out there. One tool that I really like to use for mass imports that I wanted to share with you is the Data Loader IO. Free for up to 10,000 records a month, this simple user interface allows you to not only import to all your Salesforce objects, but it's also cloud-based and quite user-friendly. Additionally, lookup fields can be looked up through other fields. For example, when importing contacts and you want to map to an account, you can do a lookup via the account name. And if there are multiple with that name, you can either use the first match or mark that record as an error. So you can also map to external IDs with this tool as well. Okay. I've covered a lot of information, so I want to regroup and talk about your data management plan. As the keeper of data, it is your responsibility to ensure that everyone using the system understands how to get data in, what steps they can do to prevent creating duplicates, and what is expected of them if they come across bad data or duplicates in the system while they were working, as well as for you to know what you can do as an administrator to minimize bad data and keep a clean system. So 4 basic steps. 1, ensure proper user training. Teach your users how to search for existing records to make sure they've evaluated the data before they create new. Make sure they have the appropriate access to edit those records if they find something, if that is their role, and make sure that they know what is expected of them when it comes to duplicate management. Do they contact you as the administrator? Do they merge data themselves? Or do they do nothing and just wait for the next data cleanup to happen? 2, set up items for prevention. Start with implementing native Salesforce duplication management. Review all of your integrations to know how they work with your system and what happens when they encounter a duplicate. What do they match on? Are there any fields you can implement in your system that you can use as a unique identifier? If you have data to put into your system, take an extra hour or so and make sure that it is clean going in. Do those VLOOKUPs on your existing data or the sorting and spot checking. You know the saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That is absolutely true. Okay, number 3, evaluate your organization's policies as well as your existing data. Once you know what you're looking to accomplish and what you are facing with your current data, implement that external application. Make a cleanup plan and schedule and share your plan with all of your users so they know what's going on and what to expect and how to manage that as well. And number 4, do it all over again. Data will keep going into your system, and it is your responsibility to ensure that users are reminded of their responsibility to that data. Cleanup and evaluation of duplicates is an ongoing process and should be something that, along with all bad data, is continually evaluated. There are going to be times when, even though you've done all of these things, you are still going to have duplicates in your system, whether that's because people forget their passwords or change emails and just create new records, or people, things just don't match up how you are anticipating it. It's difficult to get around, but if you implement all of these other steps, at least you can be able to limit the amount of wasted time or space on these duplicates because you won't have as much bad data to manage. Whew, that was a lot. Okay, so I really want to thank you for your time. Next week, be sure to come back and join our team as we bring to you Salesforce files. With improved Salesforce files, you can convert your clunky documents into easy to access and share documents. Whether it's a minor waiver or a board report, Salesforce files make it easy for you to store, access, and share. I want to thank you all again so much for joining me today at this session. If you want to review this or any of our other trainings, be sure to visit handsonconnect.org/past-webinars. Thank you all again and have a wonderful day.